Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on.
My name is Amanda Joan Quimper. I've had prophetic dreams, angelic encounters, revelations, and a vision from God to bring awareness to modern moral issues. I want to share my creative arts, poetry, experiences, and stories with you. God is abundantly above and beyond what we could have asked or even imagined. And the most important truth that exists is love.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. And today we have with us my good friend Amanda, Joan of Heart from Awaken Unite TV. And we also have with us Mandy. She's a trafficking victim. So this is going to be a really serious episode. Mandy's a compassionate Christian, a dedicated patriot, and a fierce victims advocate. Mandy shares her raw testimony of surviving darkness and choosing to fight back with faith, truth, and light. Her story is not just about trauma, it's about resilience, spiritual strength, and reclaiming power. We're going to discuss her personal experience surviving trafficking, her emotional and spiritual journey of healing, advocacy for other victims, the broader systems around trafficking, and a discussion touching on the Epstein files and ongoing public questions surrounding elite exploitation networks. And then Amanda and her were just talking before this. We're going to expose some these pedophilic symbols and stuff, which I didn't even know those existed. So, yeah, but and I'll turn it over to Amanda. Did you want to? Thanks for coming on, everyone. And Amanda, how's it going?
Good, I'm doing good. And thank you, Mandy. She went by Maga Mandy, and I met her through Trauma Triage Group on Awake Nation on Rumble. Penny Shepherd's Trauma Triage Group. It's a great group. We're trying to expose all the hidden stuff with trauma and trying to help heal people. It's really good. So check us out on Trauma Triage as well. And thank you so much for coming on today, Mandy. And also Amanda Pritchard, she goes by now. That was kind of her stage name before, but she's now going by her real name. And exposing the truths and getting it out there. And I really appreciate you for standing up and being the change we wish to see in the world, because we need more of that. And keep fighting and the good fight of faith. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. I know it's hard, very difficult, but yeah, if you want to tell us, what happened, how this all happened, where it started, and just also share with us what you're doing now and whatever you feel in your heart that you want to share with the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the kind words and the great introduction. Mm-hmm. So, I was going by Maga Mandy, and recently I did another interview that will be coming out soon on Front and Center with Jackie Jordan, where I'll dive more into specifics tied into my experiences around Jeff Epstein. So, I named one of my traffickers that's attached to Jeff publicly now. So it's kind of another layer of healing to be able to say, this is my name and this is who I am, and I'm front and center, not hiding. But it was a long journey to get here, and it's important to know, because there is a misunderstanding that most girls are pulled in and kidnapped violently, or some something straight out of Hollywood for how girls end up going into being trafficked. My story is actually more along the lines of more often than not cases where girls are groomed and recruited in. I had grown up in I grew up in youth group and with my nana going to Bible studies mostly. I had been bullied because I had a rare eye condition, and it made my eyes appear unique, and kids can be tough. So I got bullied a lot, and that kind of made me draw closer to my mom, who was my best friend, and my nana, who actually lived across the street. So we spent most of our days together reading from the Bible, and just she taught me a lot about how to be kind to others and not treat others the way that they were treating me, that there was a root cause to why they were acting that way. So when I was 15, I had gotten invited by a girl who I thought was one of my first friends, and we went to a party. It was really supposed to just be me, her boyfriend, and somebody else who had a house, and it turned out to end up being a party, and there was a handful of other people there, and I ended up getting raped, and I felt like I did something wrong, that I was impure, so I stopped going to church and kind of isolated, and it created trauma bonds with me and this girl. And I would later find out that she was actually working for someone who, it was a organized criminal organization, and a gang, if you want to just call it what it is. And I ended up distancing myself from my family, of course. I didn't want my mom to know that everything she had warned me about and taught me to be careful with ended up happening. Fast forward, and I went from being a dual enrolled, I was going to a private high school where I was taking college classes for engineering and psychology, and I was approached with a shortcut to skip community college and go straight to university by doing some modeling. And that was, again, a way to desensitize me to exposing my body. I grew up in Florida, and it wasn't uncommon to be wearing a bikini all the time, right? So it was just desensitizing me to having an older man take pictures. And fast forward, and it turned into more. I would end up being introduced to, it's still kind of hard to say his name. I just came out with this last interview saying it publicly, but his name was Michael Landry. And I met him, and him and his wife gave me this family experience that I had been missing from my own family. It's family dinners, and he even had me feed his 3-year-old daughter at the table. And, that was, again, creating a bond. But I didn't see then what I can see now, the ritual in it of gaining my trust and painting this picture for me to, be trafficked by him. And eventually I would end up going across the country with him, and various rotation of other girls. And we would go to all the major cities. He would paint it to be a different picture, more palatable, that we were going on a tour and we should be proud of what we were doing, that it was the oldest trade in the book. And he tried to glorify what was happening. And initially it was, we started in Miami to get used to that kind of high-paced environment. And he would also do fear tactics to make sure he harnessed all control. One of them was stopping by Alligator Alley and showing me, or whoever the new girl was, he would pull over and say, do you want to meet the girl that you're replacing? And, kind of pull over at Alligator Alley. So, the fear tactics were strong. That's just one example. And I can't even pinpoint exactly how many times we drove across the country and stopped at all the cities, but the end goal was always either, was most of the time, Atlantic City or Vegas. We had a timeshare in Atlantic City, and Ocean City near Atlantic City. And we also stayed in Vegas at all of the casinos, and met some pretty high profile people that were clients, but there's not so much illegal about that. Meeting them there, there's not too much crazy stuff that happened at the casinos, just typical. This is hard to talk about just because it's like, okay, this is his name and this is what he did. Like, I've kept this secret for so long, and I really haven't dug into the files because it's like what I know and then what's out there. And I'm still in disbelief that I actually looked up his name, and it's just CC'd in a couple of the emails, but he's been doing this since the 80s. So the fact that he used his real name on an online profile, especially to have any sort of communication with someone tied to anything, it still blows my mind. And also, someone I was with looked him up and seen that he has a charge for child trafficking, and online it said pimping. I don't know if they actually use that terminology, or where the state was that he had gotten arrested in, because again, somebody else looked it up and told me. But it's still wild. Like, this is actually being spoke about. But anyways, fast forward, there was a lot of attempts where I had tried to leave, and they were failed. I would get run off the road, kidnapped, very violently raped. I was his property, and he made it clear that there were consequences if I tried to steal from him, which by me not being his slave was, breaking the contract of being with him and giving him all my money. He would always threaten not to use him as a stepping stone, not to take what he taught me to go anywhere else or go on my own. I had one of the last straws. I had known that so like Pizzagate is a thing, but it's also, they talk in code. And it's so hard unless I'm telling like an exact story to explain it, because like you're so like programmed in that like fear mode not to ever talk about it. But when I had left him in Jersey, he had bought a yacht, and that was like the ownership trade and meet. Like, they changed the value of it. They'll like give somebody more money if they're buying the girl, or vice versa. And like, I was being traded off. And throughout the 15 years roughly that I was trafficked, I can't tell you how many times I was passed around and rebought by the same person and just traded off. So but I knew how bad it was with him, and I didn't want to know what a worse situation could possibly look like. So I played it as usual, and I was praying for any way out. And I wasn't really supposed to hold on to my ID or my like anything that I could use to get away. Like, if I had money, I could rent a car. If I had my ID, so it was a way for him to hold on to control. And I was on Facebook, which again was like, I wasn't really supposed to post pictures or keep in contact with anybody. But I was on there, and by God, it's the only thing I can explain is God, but somebody who I used to really be close with and trust. He had dated my best friend in high school. He happened to be in New Jersey, and he helped me. We came up with a quick plan for him to help me get on a plane and get out of there. So business as usual. Michael had dropped me off at a casino, and I was so nervous. I kept playing it off like I didn't have any money, and we would go to the next spot after I'd been there too long. And the exact order of how the events happened are not something I've really put a lot of thought into. But basically that night I casino hopped as usual, but I held on to the money. And when it came time to meet up with him, I made sure he was somewhere else other than where I was. And I left. I just snuck out and got away. There was some more attempts for him to get me back that I'm not really ready to, or not able to talk about right in this moment. But sorry, they are very, very hard memories. But I ended up making it back to Florida, where I got kidnapped and violently raped, and it was him that had set the whole thing up. Not that long after that, COVID happened, and I just kind of stayed in hiding, couch hopping, and just trying to stay low key and out of his sight. And again, it still wasn't the end. There was still more that happened, but in 2022, I ended up getting rescued by a nonprofit when I was just about to give up hope that I would ever actually get out. And that around New Year's that year, I wrote this really heartfelt, and I posted it on TikTok, and it's on my TikTok right now. It's like the first 3 videos that are there. You can see me. I'm wearing I have dark hair, and just I heard that poem for the first time in a long time yesterday. Really listened to it, and I really feel like it was a prophecy from God to hold on, because I wrote that poem hoping and praying that I would achieve those things. And I'm literally living that poem right now, between having my independence and my freedom and my car and my business. I was really about to give up. They had found people who had recruited me in when I was a teenager. I thought that everybody would be gone, right? COVID happened, and I wanted to be close to my family and try to reconnect with them. So I moved back in with my parents. And the same group that pulled me in when I was a teenager were still in that same town. And they, they didn't give me a choice. I had to go back in, but they made me go in at the bottom. And it was short-lived, because by the grace of God, I was rescued out. And today, after being in a safe house and completing their trauma resolute treatment, I was in there for about 1.5 years, roughly 2 years. And then I was able to get my own place, and I picked up a trade doing mobile detailing. So I started my own business with that. And I actually just got a promotion for a part-time job that pays really well for some more stability. So God continuing to open doors and allowing me to put some more time in my church. I have an amazing church family, the Source Church, Pastor Ralph and Joanne. If you look them up on YouTube, their services are just amazing. I have a family, a church family, support family through the nonprofit that rescued me. I advocate for other survivors, and I stay plugged into different organizations that give me the opportunity to help with the relatability and help to inspire others. Also, my messaging on X is open, and I believe it's open on all the platforms. So if anybody is wanting to reach out to me, looking for help or resources, I am more than willing to send you in the right direction or talk to you myself. So I think that about sums it up.
I wanted to ask you, what was the hardest part of reclaiming your life once you were finally free?
I had a very hard time transitioning into my own place, because at the safe house, it was this bubble. And even when I started working, I was still around all of my support. And I mean, security and all of that. So it was very frightening to be in my own place and have flashbacks of when I thought everything was okay at my parents' house. And then, I got a job and all of a sudden, they started showing up. But my pastors came over and prayed over my apartment with me, and I felt the Holy Spirit just giving me a hug and telling me it was going to be okay. But that was really hard. As memories come up, because your brain only allows you to see what you can handle, I learned a very helpful process from Dr. Q at Dr. Quintel and Associates. It's not therapy. There's no point in his mind. He doesn't understand. Let me word that correctly. But with therapy, you're digging those neural pathways and making the connections stronger, and you're just reliving. And with trauma, your brain doesn't have a way to know that it's in the past. So it's still affecting you. And there's this process where you say what happened in bullet points after you set an intention and name some things that have happened since then that are more fun. And then you put the bullet points backwards because your brain has never processed that information backwards, and it starts to let your brain know that it's in the past and it's over. And then you recall the things that have happened more fun since then, and it's creating it like that timeline in your brain to understand that that's over. And it, for me, sometimes I will get over whatever has come up and resurfaced almost immediately. I always feel slightly different. But sometimes it takes a little while. And I know that last year I was really pushing myself hard to share my story, and I was doing it very discreetly. Like I said, I didn't have my actual name on there, and I was being very censored, by choice, because it's heavy, scary stuff. I literally am risking my life talking about these things. And then there were also some spaces that I was doing, and I started, I met with somebody who is pretty well known, high profile person, who I kind of guided me around these scary people. And, he was like, if you're going to be in this, let me show you how to survive. Right. And have a chance to make it out. I actually got invited to go to Jeff's Island, and this person put his foot down and didn't let it happen. So things like that. He definitely saved my life more times than I can count. But I met with him around the time that I was doing an interview with Ryan Matta. And he told me, nobody's going to tell me what to say, but if I get warned not to say things, I'm not going to do that. Right. Can't tell me what to say, but I understand if there's a reason for not to say things. Right. And he was just trying to protect me. We were being followed. We had to go to 3 different dive bars to for him to convey these things to me. And I talked about that more in my previous videos about that situation, because it was Hulk Hogan. And after he died, I felt like that was the green light, because I know he did want to expose these kinds of things that were going on. But anyway, sorry, my brain starts going.
But you said you met Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. He was trafficking victims.
What was that?
Sorry, go ahead, Amanda. I was saying, so Hulk Hogan was actually trying to help trafficking victims. That's cool.
So the same way that they try to recruit and lure girls in, it's in the business world and networking, when you know that somebody is doing something that you don't agree with, but you're still, all connected. It's this weird, do I, okay, now I know about it. Do I join in and partake? I can't, turn them in or do anything about that. It's me against them. There are a handful of people who are the reason that I'm alive. And I do hope that eventually I get the opportunity to dive more into that. But I won't be the first person to talk about things. I pray, and I let God tell me when. And just like when Hulk passed away, I knew that was the moment for me to start talking about that. But there's that option. So, okay, I know about it. I don't want to be a part of it, but I have to like show face, right? And some of them decide to help when they can, and Hulk Hogan was one of them.
Wow.
That's amazing. Wow.
But I met with him shortly before he died, and he reminded me that there's no such thing as coincidence. And then Virginia Giuffre dies on my birthday after I'm basically told to be careful of how I say things. And I can say what I was told not to say. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just, okay, so like government, like official titles or organizations. Yeah, I was kind of nervous when he was telling me this stuff, but it was can't something about specifics, but there was like a gray area to it. And again, I just give it to God and pray before I say stuff, because I'm pretty sure, it was the COVID timeline, like specifically during COVID, because some crazy stuff happened then. But so I don't say specific timelines when it's like stuff about COVID.
Regarding that, do you believe that, like I asked you about, like, before we started, do you believe that, like, we're in a society right now that's protecting pedophiles and protecting sex traffickers and protecting people who abuse women and stuff like that? Do you believe that that's what's going on? Is that why you can't talk about stuff? Like, because, like, you know, like if you look at, for example, like if you look at the story of, like, I bring this up a lot, Isaac Cappy. I don't know if you ever heard about him, but he was kind of a conspiracy theorist. He started going after like human trafficking, child trafficking, and he ended up dead. You know, they said he was unalived. Some people say that it was kind of an accident how he died, but like a lot of people think it was like, it was like he got taken out. So like, do you think it is dangerous, and do you believe we're in some kind of a society that protects people like that are abusing and hijacking and stuff like that?
There's just a strictly opinion off of observation, but you know how we have like rules to protect religion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rituals and like the dark side tied to this. And that's part of it. Like there's something really deep that I don't know how to talk about just yet, but I hate to use the word religion because it's not a good one, but the like religious aspects to it, and I don't really know what you try to fill in the blanks with that. And then I don't think that people are trying to protect the pedophiles, but what I do see is that there is a group of people who are desensitizing and trying to make it look like it is a something you're born into and you can't help it, like it's a sexual preference, like LGBTQ. Not to tie that in with the pedophiles, but the world is getting desensitized to pedophilia. I can see how it's trickling down. So how it appears to be, are we protecting the pedophiles? Well, there's a small group of people who are definitely making it hard to come after them. And again, it's I hate not knowing how to talk about it specifically yet, but it's tied to the rituals. And there is a group of people also who have substituted. So like if you're talking about, okay, I'll talk about this. So there was a point in time where I couldn't, I'm putting myself out there. There was a point in time when I couldn't stand eating chicken because it reminded me of something else that I was forced to eat. And that group, instead of sacrificing like a person, they would sacrifice an animal that this wasn't it, but for example, and I hate using this terminology, Lord forgive me, but if it's like someone that they would call a whore, they would be like, okay, so they would use like a horse to replace that. If they needed a baby, they would use a lamb because lambs are innocent. Those are the two examples that come to mind. I forgot where I was going with this because, again, this is very hard to say this kind of stuff. So excuse me, my brain just went in a loop trying to find the words for that. This is processing trauma in real time.
Yeah. Yeah. And your brain compartmentalizes from these experiences, and you literally, it makes you not be able to think. You blank out and stuff like that. Like you were saying. So this is real, guys. Like this, I mean, Kathy O'Brien speaks about the compartmentalizing the brain and these things when you have trauma, and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I'm learning when to back away too. And I know that I don't have to answer questions or dive into stuff, but because there was a point where I was pushing myself really hard. I mean, I'd be up till 5 a.m. doing like spaces because I could talk to people that understood, right? And could process with. But then it was like, is Epstein still alive? Is Epstein still alive? And I'm like, some people from my past came up to a restaurant where I had been working at, and again, around the time that I had started speaking out, and they knew that I was talking about them without saying their names. So I no call, no show to that job. And it took me a little while to get back into work. So again, with that fight, flight, or fear, fight, flight, or fawn, I went to a previous job. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I just saw Epstein. Like, I mean, like I took a picture of him too, because I was like, I talked to him, it's his voice, and everybody's like, he's probably got plastic surgery. Like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think Epstein just showed up to like intimidate me or something. But it's the fear, because then your brain starts looking for those patterns. And it's like, okay, so when I get freaked out and scared, like I need to step back from everything, because your brain's going to go into like that mode. And, you know, it's super heavy and scary because
not healthy.
It is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a narcissist, and you're like, you literally feel the pain going over your brain, and it's like, my brain ain't even working anymore. I can't even think of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Time to step back and do some meditation, pray with God.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, like how was your relationship with God changed through all this? Like, did you always have a strong connection with God, or like, and do you feel like it was your connection with God that kind of got you through all of it and is guiding you now?
I know that I would not be I don't call myself a victim. I say survivor, and I would not be able to use that terminology confidently without God. God saved me. And I know that less than 2% of victims make it out and get to have any sense of normalcy, if that's what you can call this. But less than 2%. And I know that I am fortunate and I am lucky. And I it's like an empowerment to know that I have a second chance on life. And I am I'm not perfect. I still curse, and I have things that I need to improve on, but God is my role model. How can I be more in God's image? And I know that when I got rebaptized, and anytime I go through a hard moment or something, or remember something else from my past, I'll go and sign up for the next baptism, because I know that water is symbolic for washing me clean. And I know that I always go back and hug my younger self and let her know that God still loves you. Like, you didn't choose to get raped. You didn't choose to get manipulated and pulled out of college. You didn't choose to have these trauma bonds and these older men, these grown adults manipulate you while you were a high school student. So I know that God loved me all along. And I mean, I accepted him as my Lord and Savior when I still have my original Bible from my Nana on my 13th birthday that she gave me. And I know he never left me. You know, he'll never leave, he'll never forsake, and he's got plans to prosper me, not to harm me. And he loves you. He loves everyone who's watching, and he saved me. There was a moment in time where it was a brief moment when I had no phone, nowhere to go. And there was a hotel that I knew I would know somebody at. And then across the street, there was like an abandoned Kmart looking place. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I was hiding from my trafficker. I had no phone, nothing. And I prayed to God for a sign. And anybody who knows US 19 in Pinellas County, it is a very like road. Like the lights don't stop. But I prayed for a sign and the street lights stopped for me to go across the street. And it took a couple times because I'm like, abandoned building, motel, abandoned dark building. I'm like, it's probably equal chance of danger, but okay, God, I hear you. So I walk across the street and hesitantly, and behind the Kmart is, and I have to go back and tell them this sometime, but there's this beautiful church, cathedral style called Calvary. And it was around Christmas, and the kids were putting on a play for the story of Mary. And I bawled like a baby because all of the memories came flooding back that my Nana and me had of reading and all the stories. And I felt love, like genuine love for the first time. And I don't know how long, probably when I was living at my parents' house, honestly. I felt God. And, yeah, that was a huge turning point. And from that moment on, it still took about, I don't know, between a year, 2 year. I hate time frames, but it still took a little while for me to get into the nonprofit. But I knew that whole time through that I was going to see the other side. That's why I wrote that poem. And I love that I heard it 2 days ago and like really a couple days ago and like really listened to it because I know where I was when I wrote it. But I was so hopeful, and I literally have everything in that poem right now. So I know that God was always with me and keeping that hope alive in me, even in the darkest of times.
Wow. And yeah, you got to shatter that shame right off of you because God loves you right where you're at. Whoever you are, He loves you right where you're at. And just, you need to love and embrace that beautiful self you are, shadow self and all, because you know we all came here with different walks in life and we got to walk these walks, and you know God led us through these walks and protected us through these walks and helped us grow through these walks and helped us get on our missions through these walks. So don't judge anybody else's walk in life because you know you're not in their shoes. I'd like to see you try to put yourself in their shoes, you know. I mean, I heard one of your videos on TikTok and you were talking about how they would make you wear shoes that were like a size or too small. And the other traffic survivor that I have on my website, she didn't have a pair of regular tennis shoes till she was 30 some years old when she got out of it. She was wearing stilettos her entire life. So, you know, I'd like to see other people try to walk in those shoes. I mean, it's not an easy walk. I couldn't imagine just, yeah. And you talked about the different, you know, ways that you can be trafficked. There's so many different ways. Like, you know, my friend she's more like the streetwalker or waiting at the premiere parties after people got out of the premieres type of, you know, she was waiting at the hotel rooms with her 4th generational pimp. And then there's others who, you know, got yoked up after school. I mean, yoked up, like she's saying, you know, like, and next thing you know, you gotta go with them when you get off the school bus or get out of school or whatever, you know. It's just crazy different ways that they do this. It's so conniving and crazy. It's unbelievable what the difference is. There's like so many different stories. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I was going to say, what do you wish people knew about healing from trauma? I wanted to ask you about this because I'm a trauma survivor myself, not to the extent that you were, but like I had something really bad happen to me in 2010 that kind of messed up my life. And like I had a guy jump in front of my car and kill himself. It was crazy. And then I was in addiction. And so I had girlfriends die or, you know, exes died from overdoses and stuff like that. So like I've also had to heal from trauma. So I thought it'd be kind of like powerful if you talked about like what people knew or what you wish people knew about healing from trauma or like what it's like to, you know.
So I will try to keep that answer surface level just so it can apply to a broader spectrum. But something that I love to share is that with trauma, the negative thinking is such a knife. It doesn't matter if the negative thinking has nothing to do with the trauma directly, but it still it still tends to put people in that like belittled mindset. And again, with the neural pathways, it's like if you have a thought, think of it as a tire going over a muddy road. The more times that tire goes over that path, the harder it is to steer off. And that's how you end up in the cycle of, deep thinking about all the negatives and, get into like a suicidal state. So it's really key to start this practice where when you have a negative thought, or if you just have racing negative thoughts, to write them all down. And then on a separate sheet of paper, even if it's not something that you believe yet, write the opposite. I am grateful for. And something positive about the situation. I mean, just a very like superficial thing, like when my teeth I needed some dental work done. And, something about that I hated the way that I looked, I would write, I'm grateful that I don't have any pain in my teeth, right? It was very self-conscious and all of that, but at least I could be grateful that I wasn't in pain from my teeth. And then after you write the opposites down, you keep that list. And when you have a negative thought, you read over that, all of the things that you're grateful for. And it manifests into different topics too, which I love to talk about the trauma resolution. But the page with all the bad things, you write a big X on that and rip it up and throw it away. That act of doing that and that pen to paper, not typing it, but the pen to paper, it's an energy transfer that helps with the healing in your brain. Because you're taking those thoughts out and you're giving it to God, whether you're intending to do that or not. You're taking the weight off of your shoulders, and now you've created a positive out of the negative.
Yeah, and Kathy O'Brien she started handwriting. That's how she got her memories back, was putting a pen to paper and just writing. And she started retrieving all these memories back and remembering everything. And she was like coded. So they would say a code word, like a word that they had a program to do. And then she would go like have sex with that person because they said the code word or whatever to make her program do that. That she was running. So I don't know if you've ever been on any kind of mind control programs, like a targeted individual style like that. But what do you think about that?
So I have this long coffee table that my laptop's on right now. Make sure there's not writing here. But literally like 3 notebooks just like right here. Because I have a notebook for everything. These are just the ones in arm reach. And then, of course, my Bible. But so up until, and I'm still fighting it, I still have to pray for those chains to break. And saying Michael Landry's name is definitely helping this week by doing that. But going back, I had to write everything in a poem. That's where that first poem came from. Or on Grok. This is an amazing tool too, because it takes the ugliness and turns it into beauty. But I'll speak into Grok and I'll say this happened and say the specifics. And then at the end, I'll tell it to write a couplet style poem and write it discreetly and change the names. And then I used to like make pictures too, which the pictures have nothing to do with the people that it's about, but it's something that, I know what it is. And now I'm posting it and it's completely coded, but I would pray that like it would take the silence away, because even in my own journals it's so hard. I'm still working on it to be able to write the specifics down. But that's what we were taught. I mean, I can sit in a room. I was passed around, like traded off so many times that I can sit in a room in any business meeting and translate what's going on. Ryan Matta had asked me specifically, like, what codes did people use? And I like froze up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't think of a single one. And like yesterday I was journaling and I remembered And like one that came up that I wished I would have talked about then was the cloning. So I can see how a lot of the conspiracies come out, and I can see because of experience how things could sound or appear like they were, like the alien abductions and stuff. Not saying like yes or no one way or the other, but there was a double agent that had told me how to avoid getting drugged, and like basically helped me navigate through, kind of like Hulk did. But in this, I call it the I call it like, it was like an experimental house. I don't want to put a name on it right now. But anyway, sorry. Hard to speak about trauma, real time. But they that double agent told me how to like not get drugged. Now, had I been drugged, there was some weird stuff going on, and I'm sure it was just to like make me go crazy, or discredit my story. They had pictures of my family going back, like we had been surveillanced for my whole life, even before I was born. They tried convincing me that I was adopted, like crazy stuff. And they had actual crime scene evidence to try to like test my psychic abilities. And like, it was crazy. But there was weird electronic wires, and had I not done what the double agent told me to do, and had I eaten the uncovered food or whatever, had I been drugged, I would be sitting here telling you that like they probed me and like I got abducted in a 3D printer. Like I'd be telling you some crazy stuff. But I was sober and I was lucid, so like I could see how it could look one way. But one of the coding stuff, so they like the cloning. You hear a lot about the cloning, Zorro Ranch, not saying yes or no either way, but I do know like how they get away with their crimes. I'm going to speak slowly on this because I have to like be careful. But so they'll be somebody, usually family, but like people who look similar, right? And somebody will be being investigated, and they know that they're getting investigated. And it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So they'll switch the people who look similar. And now it's different DNA, it's a different person, and it messes up the timeline. So anybody that's under investigation, it's a simple, like, it's a clone, it's a body double, it's a swap. I don't really listen to rap music, but there's a Kevin Gates song that actually talks about like he paid off a body double so he could get out of prison or something. And I'm like, I wish I could do that. I wish not get out of prison like that, but I wish I could speak openly like that. Like, what do you have to do to get to that point where you're like, so that, but it's art, it's a rap. It's, it's not serious. Laughter is healing, right? I actually went to Joe Rogan's mothership to do open mic night because Pam Bondi was asking for survivors to come up, and I could not get a hold of anybody. Like I reached out to Congress. I mean, and I understand court is a pain in the ass. Sorry, Lord. Court is a pain in the butt to like get anything done in a convenient time frame. But I'm like, I thought this was a little like, more important, So I got frustrated. So I decided instead that it would be easier to drive across the country and like make a comedy skit. So like overnight, I wrote up like a bunch of jokes, and I was like, yeah, Survivor on comedy mode is like Grok in conspiracy mode. Like I'm gonna slip the truth in here. So I went up there and I tried that approach. I got the idea from the people who turn their stuff into art. Like, I mean, I don't know. I tried a bunch of different approaches, but I decided on New Year's not to keep digging through with the like video shorts and the trauma stuff. But then God opened the door for the front and center Jackie Jordan interview, and I felt the nudge to mention Michael Landry's name. And I still feel like every time I say it, it's like I'm getting a little bit back of, another piece of my healing and control back over my life. So that's just where I'm at today.
How do you think Landry was connected to Epstein? Do you think, I'll just throw this out there, do you think he was like responsible for like getting girls to try to go to the island, and like, or is that like, or do you think in that case, do you think there was many people like him that like Epstein had,
So Michael Landry has been doing this since the 80s, and I will be completely surprised if, especially since a survivor, me, is coming forward and naming his name, that there's not some huge investigation to blow all this stuff up. I will lose all hope in the system. And I just got it back, right? Because people are actually, I mean, the fact that he has any trafficking charges, I was like, what? Because they're just invincible. Like I said, it's not about what you know, it's what you can prove. So the fact that they will dig and find the breadcrumb trails and put it together, and I mean, I'll testify against it all day. It's not like I don't have evidence on everything, but I would be completely surprised if this stuff doesn't blow up and unfold. And I mean, it'll be another Epstein swamp for sure.
Wow.
And the survivors that are speaking out and supposedly fighting this, and a lot of people are saying that that they were bought and paid for by like Soros and stuff. So what's that about? So we gotta,
so I'm very clear because I don't want to be put in a situation. I don't want any money from any of this. You're not going to pay me for an interview. You're not going to pay me for, like, even the Backpage lawsuit. One of my lawyers sent me something about that, and I was like, it's dirty money. I don't want it. So like, I have a business. I have my own money. I'm finally independent, not relying on anybody else, right? I can look at myself in the mirror and be like, yes, you did it. Like, I'm doing this for my younger self, right? So I don't leave that door open to get offered, to get bought or paid off. And it's not going to be a door that'll open.
Mm-hmm.
I did get some, there was a weird thing where somebody wanted me to talk bad about somebody. And I was like they were convinced that this person was guilty. And I'm like, I said too much, but yeah, I mean, you're not going to bribe me. Like, it's just not who I am.
Right. Yeah. Good for you. Right. Keep your karma clear. So God will protect you, get that executive function where,
Can I ask you this question? Did you feel like it was like, did you want it to become your duty to like, and I'm not saying like, I guess what I'm saying is like, what pushed you from becoming a survivor to becoming an advocate to kind of help others? So I think that's great that you do that.
This is where I get so much grief because I'm Maga Mandy. So I will keep politics out of everything, but I will tell you why I jumped into the advocacy mode. There was a whole bunch of stuff being posted on X. I made an X account just because I wanted to follow the elections. And because I had no social media, I was in they call it the blackout phase. And I just kind of let it roll over because I didn't want to be like, I had nobody that I needed to talk to that I didn't see in person. But I had an X account to follow the elections. And then when they were posting about stuff that was going on in Britain and the corruption and this and that, I was like, this is so annoying. Like, this is going on here and nobody's talking about it. And I could not sleep. So I tried to sleep in my living room. And then God like nudged me and pointed out, I can do something. I can be the one that speaks up about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a random thought. I'm going to go try to go to sleep. And then I had a flash of President Trump and how he got shot and went back to Butler and went back on stage. And I was like, that's how God speaks to me. Like, I'll see flashes of memories or images that apply to a situation that I'm praying about. So my very first video announcing that I was a survivor, I literally got off my couch, sat on the floor. It's like 2 a.m. And I put the phone up and I was like, I'm Mandy Marie and I'm a survivor of human trafficking and I will be telling my story. And I fell asleep like a baby. So I changed my name to Maga Mandy, and it's my reminder of, when something is important, it doesn't matter if you're risking your life. God gives you a path to follow. And that's actually what my pastors are on right now is your identity in Christ being first and having everything else follow. And I'm doing a small group about leadership And what I'm learning right now is that God doesn't give the rules to the people who are ready for it. It's about taking that leap of faith and knowing that God will give you the tools to get through it and be ready for it when you need them. So I'm literally living that in real time right now.
Wow.
Yeah. The other survivor was an adamant Trump fan and into the 17th letter in the alphabet, we'll call it, if I can't say it on here probably, movement, that whole movement, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So she said that saved her life, just gave her hope to fight and get out of it because she thought there was a plan, believed there was a plan, and there's people here to change this. So, yeah. It's good.
This is a good question. How deep? I mean, I kind of wanted to talk about this, and I kind of remind Amanda. Amanda, you guys wanted to talk about the symbols. Remember, you guys were going to bring that up.
Yeah.
But like, how deep do you guys think the trafficking infrastructure goes? Like, do you think it goes from local police to judges to city officials, to lawmakers, to, you know what I mean, the whole kit and caboodle?
Off the top of my head, and I've put thought into this because I have to journal about people when they come up, and I write a letter to them to forgive them for myself. So I've definitely done a deep inventory, and I don't think there's anyone there's not like one group that's completely innocent, whether it be mayors, politicians,
The cops,
all the way up.
leaders, all the way up and all the way down. Yeah, it's a huge web and it's global and it's really sad, man. It's infiltrated throughout our government all over the world. And I've seen the map of that, unfortunately. And the person who had that map is no longer with us. His name was David Strait. He wouldn't let me film the map, but it's real. It's real scary, man. Bad. But the bridges are crashing. The bridges are crashing. The bridge is out. We pray.
Literally, London Bridge is falling down.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we just got to keep praying for these bridges to crash and praying for protection and imagining a white light or a golden light around us to ask for protection in our fights and walks in life, and that we be guarded and guided and protected each and every day in each and every way, every second, minute, and hour of the day. We pray, we pray, we pray. Holy Spirit, come.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just went to the mall in a town in my state, and found pedo symbols that I watched Jake Angeli expose on a video that I filmed of him. He was the guy at the Capitol on January 6th with the bullhorns. And so I'm going to play half of his video because I don't want to get this stream taken down with the whole 17 stuff movement. I'm going to just play what he had to say about this mall and share the symbols that I just found on my mall walls. So, yeah. And Amanda here also just was at Starbucks and saw a flag. What a lot of people call it the pedo flag, I guess. I don't know what else you would call that flag. Does anybody else in the chat know? But there's a flag. It looks like a rainbow, but it's got like different colors and pastel colors, and supposedly it's like to more normalize the pedophilia stuff.
There is a term for it, but it's slipping my mind right now. You can show the picture of it that I sent you. I can't because of my background.
Okay. Yeah, okay, we're gonna play this real quick. Let me let's see, add to the stage. So this is on my Truther content page right here. And you go down, I got that. Stay at the Capitol there. I got that. It's really good. Got some survivors here. And then Jake's video is down at the bottom here. And we'll play that real quick.
A slave trade, because this is actually one of the largest, if not, it's the largest industry in the black market besides drugs, is human trafficking and child trafficking.
Well, then that symbol that I saw.
Yeah. This symbol right here.
This symbol right there is on the way to Arrowhead Mall.
Yeah, this right here is a symbol that is used by Arrowhead Mall, but whether or not people know it, this symbol, according to the FBI, is pedophile code for little boy lover. So why is Arrowhead Mall using a symbol that is pedophile code for little boy lover as their official symbol? And this is in Phoenix, Arizona, ladies and gentlemen. So either watch your kids at Arrowhead Mall or don't go at all.
This was irregular warfare at its finest. We have an army of digital soldiers.
Okay, so, and then here is the pictures. Can you guys see this? You guys can't see that, huh? Hold on one second.
I think you might have to reshare your screen and share the image. Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Share screen, window, share. All right. Okay, so see, these were. Uh-oh, it's not showing. Oh, man. Oh, that's weird. Oh, no. Shoot. Yeah. I know we gotta get going though. Too long.
I could ask her another question while you're looking for that. if you
Yes,
want me to.
please. Sorry, Mandy, I'm trying to hurry.
Okay. How can average people cut through the propaganda, disinformation, or controlled narratives about trafficking? Do you think, Mandy?
Gosh, it's hard to put myself into someone else's mind when it comes to looking everything up online. I've tried to glance at the files, and there's multiple reasons why it's hard to look at it, but the misinformation that gets spread and then the powwow that follows, like there are things that I know aren't true from personal experience, or just when you're going through trauma, you learn to pay attention to like microfacial cues and read the room. And I mean, I can read somebody pretty well. So it's frustrating because I mean, people are just so dead set on it. And then there's AI too. Gosh, the AI is so convincing. I still don't know like whether it was a bot or a spam. I mean, there was somebody who was pretending to be Elon that was talking to me for literally like 2 months, very convincingly. And like, I mean, the extent that people go to spread information and stir up drama. I mean, I really don't have an answer for that because me, myself, I have to stay off of the internet because it's like I said, I can't put myself in somebody else's shoes, but as a survivor and seeing the nonsense on there as well as the true stuff that's very upsetting, I don't have a good answer other than when somebody posts something and you're like, oh, it's from the files, do a little bit of research. And if they don't have the exact file location number on there, like, don't believe it until, you know, you actually see it on the DOJ website. Some reliable sources that are digging through, like, I think Ian Carroll is one of them. He actually will post where to find the file. And there's actually an app, somebody created an AI that'll help search through the files. I only, again, saw that at a glance, so I might not be quoting that exactly accurately, but I do recall that it can be found on Ian Carroll's page. So that's one way to look at it and cut through the propaganda because there's receipts. Always look for receipts.
I wanted to point something out. That was amazingly said. But what I wanted to point out is, how you're showing these symbols, Amanda, not Mandy, but Amanda. Like what I wanted to talk about was my friend Michelle, who comes on my show. She does decodes, right? And she does seal decodes. So what she thinks is going on is she believes that there's a whole Luciferian system. I can't prove a lot of this, but I'm just going to tell you the theory. She said the theory is that there's a whole Luciferian system that controls this thing, this world that we live in, unfortunately. And she said these seals, you can decode a state seal, and the state seal will tell you like access to deep underground military bases, where the satanic rituals are going to be. You can supposedly read all this from looking at the state seal, or city seal. Now, with that said, what you were saying, where you were showing those symbols, that could also be like points for where there's pedophilic activity too. That's probably why those signs are in those spots. That's kind of what I was getting.
I am going to try so hard not to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything or on here, but so local businesses, the names of them, even the numbers for the wealthy people that are passing through towns, for a very surface level example, US 41, no matter where you go on that road in Florida, you're going to find a streetwalker. Like you go there if you're trying to find a shady motel and find some drugs or whatever, and you'd be amazed at the level of people that are like up there that need something and they'll go down there to get it. As well as like how MLK, I hope this doesn't sound like racist or anything. Like, I'm sorry, this is just an example, but MLK, when you're traveling, it's always told like, don't stop for gas at an MLK, like go to another exit, because those, every MLK is typically in a bad area. It's a very surface level example, but I hear your question. My brain trying to give an example that I can articulate in a palatable way is hard. But yes, there's roadmaps to it. The underground societies, if you're part of it, you can see where everything is. The first time I left Florida after being rescued, and I drove out to Texas, not this year, but the year before that, my first trip. Oh my gosh, the memories that came flooding in, and then seeing the names of the streets that were like at events or locations, or people's aliases were named after the hotel that I was at. The signs being all there. It's something that I would need to do a whole podcast segment on to explain and articulate in a way that it didn't sound like a nutcase. But yes.
No, you don't sound like a nutcase. I'm sorry if I went a little bit too off the deep end. I think, I think, I feel like a lot of this stuff exists though. Like I feel like a lot of the, it's just that we're so like they don't tell us about any of it, and like it's hard. It's so hard to believe it. But like, think about what's happening with the Epstein files, right? This is just an example. Like everything that conspiracy theorists have been saying is basically coming true in the Epstein files. Unfortunately, we're finding out that these people aren't just like, trafficking women and kids and even men, but they're actually doing like satanic rituals and like, doing some of the most disgusting shit on the planet, like known to man, and it's like really like my friend Derek's in the chat. He said there's a video of Obama at a black mass ritual. That he said.
Yeah. There's so much stuff coming around, and I'm sure it's hard to differentiate if it's AI generated or whatnot. These are some of the pedo symbols though that I found at the mall, at this mall right here. And you got this on the change thing. Have you ever seen this stuff at any drop-off locations or anything like that?
I would just, before she answers, I'd be willing to bet that underneath that mall there's some kind of something crazy going on. Like a deep underground military.
Right.
Sorry,
Mandy. With the butterfly symbolism, that's part of Project Monarch, I believe. So
butterflies.
Yeah, the Monarch butterflies.
The butterflies were always a huge thing. And whenever it was like something that was supposed to comfort me, but I was told that I was like a butterfly because you get used to your surroundings. I wouldn't say comfortable, but you'd get used to it. And then I would have to go somewhere else, go on another tour or whatever they wanted to call it. And it was like supposed to comfort me, but they would tell me I was like a butterfly. I was only supposed to grace them with their presence for a little while and then go to the next, adventure. And for whatever reason, it was comforting to me. And that's why I use the butterflies. I know there's other reasonings behind it, but it's one of those reframing and creating a new neural pathway so that I'm not like, I hate the word triggered, but so that I'm not, those bad memories aren't activated every time I see a butterfly. I'm in Florida. Butterflies are everywhere. And
right. Well, plus, I was going to say, you could think about it this way. You could think about it as yourself transforming, like how a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. You could be the caterpillar from sex trafficking transforming into the butterfly, the newly awakened God-centered, example of someone who survived and made, something amazing out of their life, So it's like symbol for transformation, right?
Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Oh, man, it didn't play. Okay, hold on. This was the other one I saw. Oh, man. I'm doing that. What the? This was on both sides of this JCPenney's. So they had it on both sides, over here and over here. It was on the other side of this one. But see, it's always by a restroom too. And then this was the other one. This was by a Macy's. It only had one on the two different things. So that's that.
Have you ever seen the movie Focus? It's a really good Will Smith movie with Margot Robbie.
Mm-hmm.
So there, it explains it so good. This was one of the movies that I was watching, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they really are home videos for some people's realities, right? Whoever writes these scripts, they got their inspiration from somewhere. But there's a scene, like the end scene, where Margot has to bet on the winning football player. And she spots the number, like she knows who it is because she recognized the person. It was one of their friends. But somebody else made a blind bet and picked a random number, which her friend happened to be wearing that jersey. The reason they were able to coordinate him wearing that number and that number being picked was because throughout the previous 2 days of the person who was making the pick on the random number, he had been pre-programmed to pick the number 55. The number 55 was showing up in symbols that didn't necessarily look like fives unless you like squinted your eyes, but it was like in the chandelier and on somebody's tattoo that he was with. And so he was constantly being programmed to pick out that's the 55. And that explains it perfectly with their little like symbolisms. They're not always tags, but they're like the pre-programming too.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any other words of encouragement or anything for anybody out there that you'd like to share before we go? I know we got to get going here soon, so.
This can be incredibly hard to do. But everybody's support and encouraging words, they mean so much to me. So thank you for that. And for anybody who is going through anything hard, just know that God loves you and just pray, and God will open a door. No matter how dark it can get, God still loves you and you're still here. You still have a chance. So don't give up.
I love it. That's beautiful.
I love that.
I believe. I wouldn't be here. I know that. If I didn't have that guide. So thank you so much, Rob. You got anything else before we go?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. I mean, this was really, brave of you to do this. And people in the chat said that as well. Like Joyful Jennifer says, Amanda, thank you for your voice. You're a brave soul. So I think the people really, the audience really took to this as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Love you guys so much. Thank you for coming on here and collaborating on this awakening moment in time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on.
My name is Amanda Joan Quimper. I've had prophetic dreams, angelic encounters, revelations, and a vision from God to bring awareness to modern moral issues. I want to share my creative arts, poetry, experiences, and stories with you. God is abundantly above and beyond what we could have asked or even imagined. And the most important truth that exists is love.